Hey guys, it's Pineapple and we're back here again to discuss My Hero Academia Season 5. With Season 5 quickly approaching at the end of March, I wanted to take some time out now to continue this channel's time-honored tradition of trying to pinpoint how many chapters this season of MHA is going to cover, while also trying to guess what we're going to be seeing on an episode-to-episode basis. If you like this kind of content, I managed to make one of these for Jujutsu Kaisen this season, and so far I think I'm 17 for 17 as far as my predictions on the episodes and their pacing. So let's see how we do for My Hero. If you're here after the season ends and my prediction is pretty close, or if you're here right now before the season starts and you just want to be supportive, then please like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on notifications to join my league of notifications and get updated whenever I upload, which has been pretty often lately. With that said, let's get right into my predictions for this upcoming season after that intro. Hit it! Okay, so what can we expect from My Hero Academia Season 5? I took the time to reread everything that I thought this season would cover with an idea of where I thought a good ending would be, and after taking a bunch of notes and doing my episode by episode count, I actually ended up exactly where I wanted to be, which gives me faith that this list won't be completely inaccurate, so let's get started. Episode 1, of course, I expect to start with a recap, just like the previous season. I'm not exactly sure what the recap is going to contain. I'm sure we're going to hear about it right before this season starts. But yeah, I am expecting the first episode to start with a recap episode of sorts. In episode 2, we'll see the aftermath of the Nomu fight. Dabi is going to show up and get chased away. We get the beginning of the Dabi and Hawks plotline, some keeping up with the Todoroki's content, and we end off with the true beginning of Deku's dream. I expect this episode to cover chapters 190 to 192. Episode 3, we continue Deku's One For All dream, and we get information on the history of One For All and All For One's eternal struggle. As the episode continues, we'll likely see Deku waking up and asking All Might about what he saw, while we also get ready for the joint training arc to begin, with Shinso's reintroduction, the team selection, and the start shout from Vlad King probably being where this episode ends. I think this episode is going to cover 193 to 195-ish, meaning it'll be 2.5 chapters of content. For episode 4, I expect this episode to start off with the team of Kirishima, Kaminari, Koda, Tsuyu, and Shinso taking on Ibara, Shishida, Hiryu, and Tsuburaba. We've seen a little bit of this round thanks to the trailers, and it's definitely a good one to start this section off. I expect this episode to end off with Kendo and Momo's teams talking a little before their match, and both teams being announced into the arena, which means I see episode 4 covering the rest of chapter 195 into the middle of chapter 198. Now with episode 5, if I'm right, this episode will continue the match between Kendo, Kurohito, Manga, and Kanoko versus Momo, Tokoyami, Aoyama, and Toru. We'll see Tokoyami first showing off what he's learned from his internship with Hawks, and from there we'll continue as the all-out battle between the teams continues, ending with Momo and Kendo standoff and Momo's final play, meaning this episode will cover from chapter 198 to 201. With episode 6, we'll likely begin the match between Shoto, Ida, Shoji, and Ojiro versus Pony, Kaibara, Honanuki, and Tetsu Tetsu. This battle ranges on for a few more chapters than the others so far, but for the most part, I expect most of the battle to fit into this episode. We'll begin on Shoto's big freeze and the scramble between both teams, while Honanuki gives everyone trouble with his quirk by controlling the battlefield. Ida is probably going to show off something new, and then we'll get an amazing Shoto moment against Tetsu Tetsu, and I expect the episode to end on everyone passed out on the ground, meaning that'll bring us from chapter 201-ish to chapter 205, which I think so far in the list is the most chapters I expect one episode to cover. In episode 7, I think we should wrap up Shoto's match as we work our way into the next match. Bakugo, Sero, Jiro, and Sato versus Tokage, Kamakiri, Awase, and Kojiro Bando. This episode is highly anticipated because this should show off some of Bakugo's growth since his fight with Deku, both in ability and motive. This match isn't too long, so I expect it to end before the episode does, meaning we'll likely continue as this episode sets up Deku and Shinso's match, with Deku telling his team that they can win this and All Might receiving a call from Gran Torino. In my opinion, the best place to end this episode would be right as Deku aims his Delaware Smash at Monoma before it cuts away to Ochako and the others, meaning this episode will probably cover from chapter 206 to somewhere in the middle of chapter 210-ish. With episode 8, I see this episode beginning with Ochako, Mineta, and Ashido making their way through the Iron Jungle, waiting for Yanagi, Kodai, and Nirengeki to attack. The groups get into it as the various combinations of Quirk make for a pretty chaotic battlefield, and from here I expect us to pick back up with All Might's phone call with Gran Torino from last episode. All Might learns of a strange dream, and just then, as Monoma badmouths Bakugo, Deku unleashes a new power. From there I expect it to go out of control, resulting in Ochako and Shinso's intervention, causing Deku to fall back into One For All's dream world, where he meets a strange figure. I see this episode covering from chapter 210-ish to chapter 212. In episode 9, I see us getting the explanation for what's going on with Deku and this strange power, while Aizawa tells All Might that he wants to let the match continue because neither Deku or Shinso have given up yet. Both teams war it out with Monoma trying something risky, and Ochako shows out with her gun-head martial arts as Deku finally gets a hold of himself and the team brings the match to a close. This should pretty much wrap up the episode, with it likely ending on Shinso thinking of how impressive the hero course is right at the beginning of chapter 216. Meaning I expect this episode to cover from chapter 213 to the very beginning of chapter 216. In episode 10, I'm guessing we're going to see the end of the joint training arc with the aftermath of Deku's match and an announcement regarding Shinso's future. This episode should more or less be a bridge episode, continuing with Deku and Bakugo doing some training with All Might and the teachers assessing the results of the joint training session. Here we also see some setup for Aizawa and Present Mike's storyline moving forward, and we'll likely also see Mirio again for the first time in a while as Aizawa tries to make use of Monoma's quirk in Aries training. I could definitely see this episode ending off with some sort of teaser for My Villain Academia, since that's exactly where we're starting off with in episode 11. But with that said, I expect episode 10 to cover chapter 216 and 217, bringing it down to a pace of 2 chapters. Episode 11 is where I expect us to start getting into My Villain Academia content, with the group of students getting together one early December Sunday morning as the snow falls around the dorm. Elsewhere, the ones who failed the provisional license exam, like Shoto, Bakugo, and the Shiketsu kids, engage in their final test against Gang Orca. I would definitely love to see this section expanded, since pretty much every character here is someone I want to see more of, but eventually we cut back to the TV in the dorms as an interesting commercial comes on, introducing a new character, Redestro. We see a scene with him in his boardroom, and eventually I'm sure that this is going to lead to the introduction of the rest of his family, as we also get an info dump on the Meta Liberation Army. Eventually I expect us to get to Shoto and Bakugo's epic hero introductions as they take on some villains that have gathered in town and started stealing. From there, I can definitely see this episode covering year-on scene of Redestro and ending in Gigantomachia's big reveal at the end of chapter 219, meaning I expect this episode to cover chapter 218 and 219. Episode 12 should start with the story of what's going on with the League over the past few months. Things have been going pretty bad for them, but as things finally seem to come to a head, Machia appears before them and throws them for a loop. We should get a pretty good battle between Machia and the League, but eventually they'll need to escape and find some help. Once Shigaraki and the others have a lengthy conversation and secure some help in the future, they'll return to Machia, and I expect the episode will end on Shigaraki's return of the future King line, while Redestro smiles at his plan for Giron unfolding. In episode 13, we should pick up a month and a half later, putting us 1 week after we last saw the students. This entire time, the League has been taking shifts trying to take down Gigantomachia, as a group of them steps up to join his battle of Shigaraki, while others leave the area and take a rest. Machia is an absolutely dominating force, and I really hope they go off of the animation for his battle against the League in chapter 223. But after that, we should see Redestro and Shigaraki's first phone call, with the proper introduction of the Liberation Army's leaders and the declaration of war against the League. With everyone arriving to Deku City, I see this episode ending in the middle of Toga and Curious's fight, right around the time that Toga tells Curious that this life is normal for her. That'll bring us from chapter 223 to the end of 225. Episode 14 should begin with Toga's backstory and continue to cover Toga's fight until its completion, and from there we'll get a little bit of Shigaraki screen time. The episode could end on Dabi and Getten's meeting, but I think we'll go just a little bit further than that and end on chapter 228, with Twice seeing all of the clones of himself wearing suits as he finds Toga bleeding in the shed. Meaning I expect this episode to bring us from chapter 226 to chapter 228-ish. From here in episode 15, we'll probably get the explanation for Skeptic's quirk as he uses it to try and immobilize Twice. From there, we'll probably reach Sadman's parade at the halfway point of the episode, with the rest covering Twice's rampage, leading all the way up to the rest of Dabi vs. Getten. I think this episode will end on Machia being woken up at the end of chapter 230. So of course that means I think this episode is going to bring us from chapter 228-ish to 230. Episode 16 will likely start off with a scene between Hawks and Best Jeanist, and from there we'll cut back to Dabi and Getten's fight as that continues. And we'll also get a look at how the rest of the League is holding up as they make their way to the tower in the center of the city. Everyone is getting swarmed, but Twice is still on the front lines and really everywhere, lending his friends a hand. We should make it to the tower with the clones of the League members, and Redestro will finally show off his quirk for the first time. From there, I think we'll cut back to the other League members, specifically Spinner and Trumpet, but eventually the episode will end on Redestro mangling Shigaraki and an earthquake hitting the border of Deku City. And of course, these events happen between chapter 231 and chapter 233. In episode 17, I think we'll finally begin Redestro vs. Shigaraki proper, with Redestro going off and causing Shigaraki to get sleepier and sleepier as he begins to go into a trance-like state. At the same time, Makia finally arrives and all hell breaks loose while everyone tries to get out of Makia's way. As the episode carries on, Shigaraki will start to remember his past, and I think the second half of this episode should pretty much cover all of the 2 Tenko Shimura origin chapters, with us getting a look at Shigaraki's family life when he was a child and starting to see the kind of things that he went through, along with him finally awakening as Quirk for the first time. This episode is going to be one to really look out for because everyone is wondering whether or not they'll censor the content, and if so, how much. So again, be on the lookout for episode 17 or 18 roughly if this list is sorta correct. But with that prediction, that means I expect this episode to cover chapters 234 all the way to chapter 236. In episode 18 of the previous episode covering Tenko Shimura's origin, this episode will take a step forward and show us Shigaraki Tomura's origin. All For One finds Tenko as he wanders through town hoping for help, and over the course of the first half of the episode, I expect us to see a few more years of young Shigaraki's life, with us then cutting back to the present with Shigaraki finally unshackling himself as he begins to counter Destro at every turn. This episode should be a treat because not only will we see large sections of the town destroyed by both sides of this battle, but also there will be a giant mech fight. And I mean, we really don't get many of those in My Hero, so I'm gonna appreciate it. The climax to both this arc and this episode should give us Shigaraki's most epic moment yet as he lets loose everything that he has and brings the battle to a close. I expect this episode to cover chapter 237 to chapter 239, again keeping with that kind of 3-chapter pace that we've kind of kept so far with the season. In episode 19, after the huge battle between the Liberation Army and the League of Villains, we get a look at the news coverage of the event and the immediate consequences and aftermath of this villain war. I think we'll catch up with Toga and the others for a bit, and ultimately I think everyone's going to gather for Shigaraki to reveal the League's new name and purpose. From there, we'll get back to the students and see what they're up to in the last weeks of December. We'll probably get a little bit of media training of Midnight and Mount Lady, and I think we'll see the UA Christmas celebration to close things off. That means that this episode should be ending on Shoto asking Bakugo and Deku if they both want to come and train with him at Endeavor's agency. So I see this episode covering chapter 240 all the way to chapter 242. In episode 20, with the end of My Villain Academia, comes the beginning of the Endeavor agency arc. But before we meet up with Endeavor, we've got to catch up on Deku and Inko's first scene together in a while. From there, we'll likely cut to a few scenes with Hawks and the League getting us up to speed with what he's doing, and after that we should see Endeavor happily greeting Shoto and his friends with a smile on his face. I think there's enough room in this episode to see Endeavor and our crew trying to take on the glass-controlling villain, and eventually by the end of the episode, I think the group is going to link up with Hawks, who definitely has an interesting book to give them. We'll probably be introduced to Burnin in this episode at Endeavor's agency, and I think a good place to end it would be Endeavor sitting at his desk, puzzled at the book that Hawks gave him. This brings us from chapter 243 to somewhere in the middle of chapter 245. Episode 21 could begin with Hawks flying back to the mansion to report to the League, while Endeavor decodes the messages left to him in the book. This will lead to the 4-month scene, which really puts us on path to season 6, and the episode will likely continue with Shigaraki preparing for a surgery and getting some information from the doctor. I think we'll probably continue through chapter 246 into 247 as Endeavor questions each member of our trio on what they want to learn the most while they're there. And after some not so brief explanations, I think this episode will end on Endeavor lecturing the trio as he walks ahead of them and challenges them to defeat a single villain faster than him over the course of the winter. Meaning again, I expect this episode to cover chapter 245 to chapter 247. Episode 22 I think will cover some more of Endeavor's training, with everyone trying to pick up something from Endeavor's movements and how he carries himself as a hero. Part of the episode is going to be Endeavor teaching them that a hero generally has to be someone who can get any job done alone. So we'll likely see Endeavor really hammering some important lessons into the crew, with Bakugo especially getting some motivation as Endeavor stops a truck and teaches him a lesson. I expect this episode to start off really chill and just filled with cool moments between Endeavor and his students, with maybe some montages of everyone eating and learning more about how they should be using their quirk. Eventually though, I think we'll see Fuyumi calling for a group dinner. We'll see a little more training between the boys, but eventually we'll take it to the Todoroki house for the next episode of Keeping Up with the Todorokis. Dinner is awkward, but I see this episode ending on, well, standing in the middle of the road waiting for Endeavor's car, meaning I expect this episode to cover from chapter 248 to somewhere in the middle of chapter 250. From here in episode 23, I think we'll start off with Ending's hostage situation and the explanation to just who this character is, and from there we'll see Endeavor and the origin trio leaping into action. We should see something really cool out of each of them, and I really hope the animation goes extra hard here. But then after an important conversation between Endeavor and Natsuo, I expect this episode will probably end on Endeavor telling Natsuo and Fuyumi what he's decided to do for the family. I expect episode 24 to bring us back to UA as classes pick up after the end of winter break. Everyone comes to class prepared, but they end up seeing All Might there instead of Aizawa, and that leaves one question on everyone's mind. Where is Aizawa? Well, Aizawa will probably get some major focus in this episode as we see him and President Mike make their way to Tartarus Prison. We'll likely see their meeting of Kurogiri and Tsukauchi's explanation for why they're there in the first place and what's going on. And if the anime wants to be really interesting, they could honestly take the rest of the episode to show us Aizawa's backstory, but something tells me instead they'll just go ahead and give us the meeting as is, with the episode likely ending on Hawks thinking about how all the pieces are finally coming together. But for what? I expect this episode to cover chapter 253 to chapter 255. And finally, the last episode of the season, episode 25, will show us why the students were of All Might in the first place an episode ago by giving us a showcase of all their new abilities while they destroy UA's fancy army of robots. As we see more and more how each student has grown, All Might starts to look towards Deku, who he realizes has grown so much that he doesn't depend on All Might like he used to, which is kind of sad to be honest. Halfway through the episode, we should find out that something's up with Eri, and I think we'll also see a meeting between All Might, Bakugo, and Deku, where All Might finally comes through with some useful research and information. We should learn more about the backstory of One For All and set up where it can go in the next season, and near the end of the episode, we should see a really big hot pot session with all the 1A kids while they study and celebrate the beginning of the final term of their first year. Deku thinks about how blessed he is to have come this far, and he's grateful for how great everything in his life is going. I mean, he can finally have conversations with Bakugo, all his friends are safe and healthy, and society still has faith in heroes. At the end of this episode and the season, we'll get a scene between All Might and Aizawa that should close things out with what I'm sure is going to be one hell of a cliffhanger. As we're left again for the cruel fate of waiting for season 6 of My Hero Academia, where all of those things that Deku feels blessed for are gonna be put in danger. And that's it, folks. Those 25 episodes should be packed with action and wild developments, but if it isn't enough for you, then just wait for My Hero Academia Season 6, which is gonna bring us the biggest arc in this series thus far. There we'll see tons of madness, and we'll be right back here trying to figure out exactly how it'll play out next time, so make sure you're back here for that, and I appreciate you guys for watching. I'll see you later. This is Pineapple. Peace.